Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Mr. Chairman, Headmaster, distinguished alumni, invited guests, members of staff, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is unfortunate that I could not join you in person, but it is great honor to join you virtually in celebrating the 95th anniversary of our esteemed Bleoo family. For 95 years, Accra Academy has stood as a beacon of excellence, shaping generations like us, whose impact has been felt across Ghana and beyond. Today, we pay tribute to the vision of the founders, the dedication of teachers, the loyalty of alumni, and the commitment of every member of the Accra Academy family who has contributed to this remarkable legacy. As we celebrate the past, we must also embrace the future with courage, innovation, and integrity. The greatest tribute we can pay to those who built this institution is to equip and inspire the next generation, which I intend to do with my presentation today. I have entitled my presentation "From Accra Academy to NASA, My Roadmap." Now, this roadmap that I'm about to walk you through was published as an article in one of NASA's newsletter about 20 years ago.
Okay. So how many minutes?
And that is what I'm showing, an example of it on the screen.
Okay, I'll see.
Now, currently, I'm an associate research scientist at NASA Goddard here in the US, assistant professor at Morgan State University, also in the US. I'm also international research associate at Latin American Technical University in El Salvador, adjunct associate professor at St. Monica's University in Cameroon, and also associate professor at All Nations University in Ghana.
Just cutting of cake and
now, where the whole thing began.
Do you have the link?
Beginning started from Ghana in a small, should I call it, town called Asalam in Accra, where I was born to Mr. Felix Damoah and Mrs. Margaret Damoah. Started my early education in a preparatory school at Asalam called Ramana. And that is where the whole thing began. From there, I proceeded with my secondary education at Accra Academy. So I I took my O-level. At that time, it was our O-level and A-level. So I took my A-level 1992. I was not a very good student at that time. In fact, if you look at what I'm showing now on the left, it's my results for 1992 O-level. And I want to highlight one particular subject, physics, both O-level 1992, and then on the right, A-level 1995. You can clearly see. Now, because of the grade of my physics at O-level, which I failed, and so I had to stay back another year to better my physics before I entered A-level back again at Accra Academy for my sixth form education. At the end of my sixth form A-levels, again, I did not do very well in physics, but I challenged myself that although I did not do well in O level, I totally failed my physics. A level, I did not do very well. I still want to read physics at the university level. And so I gained admission to University of Cape Coast to read physics. And so my year group at University of Cape Coast was the 2000 year group, BSc in physics. This is where the whole mystery of my roadmap started. Now, at about, let's say, 2 months before we completed University of Cape Coast, there was an advert where they were recruiting international students for environmental physics in Germany. And so 5 students from the department, myself, we applied for this international environmental physics in Germany, which was in Bremen. And so what happened was that the 5 of us, we all put in an application, gave it to our friends to mail all the applications together to Germany. We completed Cape Coast, and all of us, everybody went home. Now, about a month after that, I'm giving you all this roadmap to challenge you, for you to know that no matter what happened in your circumstances, if you are focused and determined, you can always achieve whatever you want to achieve. And so, after, let's say, a month, I went to check my email. At that time, we always go to the cafe to check our emails. I went to check my email, and then all that I saw was, you have been admitted into the environmental physics program in Germany. So you need to start your preparation. And so I thought I was dreaming, because, in fact, where I come from, I never expected, even when I was about to complete Cape Coast, my intention was just to become a teacher. And so this opportunity came. I read and then called my other 5 friends to find out if they have also received a similar email. And none of them had received an email from the University of Bremen in Germany. So they said, okay, we will come to your house the following day, and then we'll go and check the email to find out whether what you are saying is really true. They came, we went to cafe, checked, and that was what was in my email. So we quickly replied to the people in Germany, the coordinator, saying, oh, we applied, 5 of us applied from University of Cape Coast, Ghana, but we see only 1 response. And then immediately, the coordinator replied to our email and said, are you saying 5 people applied from Ghana? No. From Ghana, we received only 1 application, and that was yours. If you get here in Germany, we will show you all the applications that came in from around the world. And from Ghana, it was only your application. Everybody was surprised, because the person who even went to mail all the applications, his application did not arrive in Germany. And mine was the only one that they received. And when everything worked in the way we expected, and I arrived in Germany, they showed me all the applications that came. In fact, we were the first batch for that program. It was a totally new program run in English. And so they showed me, the coordinator showed me all the applications that came from around the world. And from Ghana, it was only my application. That time, I really thank God that I wasn't the one who went to mail the applications. My friends would have said I left their application and mailed only mine. But it was one person and not me who mailed the applications. And so that is where the whole mystery of my roadmap started. So I went to Germany. started my master's in environmental physics. And then I think about 3 months before I completed University of Bremen, there was also an advert, University of Munich. They were looking for a PhD candidate. So I put in an application and I was invited.
I have messaged him.
I went to the interview and I was given the PhD position. At that time, I had not even completed my master's. I was still in my final year at University of Bremen. And so I went back to Bremen after the interview because Bremen is in the northern part of Germany. Munich is the southern part. So I went back to Bremen and completed my master's in environmental physics, and then came back to Ghana briefly, and then went back to Munich for my PhD education. And so for my PhD, as the MC said, I worked on pollution transport. And this is what, this was my website at then, Technical University of Munich, where I was looking at the transport of pollution around the world. And that was where we published a paper showing that smoke can travel around the world. There was a huge forest fire smoke in Russia, Siberia, that traveled around the globe, and we use satellite and model to track the transport of pollution. And so that was where I did my PhD. And then before I completed my PhD, I think about 2 months, I was asked by my PhD supervisor to start putting in postdoc applications. So I got one in Australia, actually. I was then about to go to Australia for my first postdoc. And then I think 3 days before I had to go to the Australian embassy in Germany, I got this position in Munich, in Edinburgh, UK, Scotland. They were looking for someone to come and work on climate modeling. And so I put in an application and I was offered the job. So I was torn between going to Australia and going to UK. And then I remember at that time, my mom was saying, oh, you know, Australia, when you go there, the place is too far. There'll be the distance between you and your family will be too much. And no one will be able to come and visit you. So we suggest you go to UK, Edinburgh. And so that is where I ended up doing my first postdoc at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, UK, where I was also working on climate model and also doing some climate lecturing at that time. Now, at University of Edinburgh, there was a time I was doing this trajectory, which you can see on my screen, showing how pollution transports in our atmosphere. And so there was a position in University of Waterloo in Canada, where the Canadian government has gone to establish a research station in the far Arctic, because at that time, all the countries surrounding the Arctic were accusing each other that they are polluting the Arctic more, melting the ice in the Arctic. And so the Canadian government went to establish a research station there, trying to measure the pollution coming to the Arctic. But what they couldn't do was they could not determine where the pollution was coming from. All they could do was just to measure the pollution levels. And so they were looking for someone who will be able to do pollution modeling, to always tell them whatever pollution they measured, where it came from. Then they will have concrete evidence to show which of the countries surrounding the Arctic is polluting the Arctic. And so University of Waterloo saw my website. I saw the advert and sent them an email. In fact, at that time, I had not planned going to Canada. But I saw the advert and I said, oh, I seem to be interested in your position. And then they saw my website and saw that I was doing trajectory modeling, because anytime I get any position, I establish a website on my website, all the work I do. So they saw that I was doing trajectory modeling, and so that was exactly what they were looking for. So they did not even ask me my CV and my publications. After I have sent in an email asking them when I seem to be interested in your job, the next email that came is, we have given you the job. When do you want to come and start? And then I wrote back and said, but you did not ask me my CV. And they say, oh, you know, your CV is already on your website. We have printed and opened a file for you. And that is where I ended up in Canada, University of Waterloo, where I had my second postdoc. So at University of Waterloo in Canada, I was also doing modeling, trajectory modeling, but this time in the Arctic, looking at pollution sources that were coming into the Arctic. So whilst in Canada, a colleague of mine invited me to come and give a presentation at NASA. And so I went to NASA, gave a presentation about what I was doing in Canada. Now, at that time, the department, or the code at NASA, we always call it code, but universities call it department. So at NASA, the code that deals with atmospheric transport, they had advertised a position. And by the time I went to do my seminar, the position has closed and they have started.
I said I have.
They have already started.
I have told him, or I chat.
Interviewing students, candidates. Now, and so after my presentation, oh, okay, so I have only 10 minutes. All right, then let me just quickly. So from Canada, I moved on to NASA, and that is where I started my work at NASA, looking at pollution transport, especially from ashes. So we were using NASA drone. This is one of NASA drone, unmanned drone that we always use for research. And so I am always directing the pilot on where to encounter most of the pollution that come from the volcanic ashes, because at that time we were trying to look at the effect of volcanic eruption on aviation. And so that was my work there at NASA. And then because I like teaching, still at NASA, I encountered a position which was adjunct position at Morgan State University. And so I was appointed adjunct there. So whilst I was working at NASA, I was also teaching part-time at Morgan State University in the climate division. And then that was where I started my real research activities at Morgan State University. So I work with meteorological instruments where we look at condition of the atmosphere. We also used look at pollution level. So this is one of my air quality drone. You can clearly see the drone here. So what happens is that this is an automated drone. So the box opens, the drone takes off, and then it follows the path that you have given. And whilst the drone is going, it is making pollution measurements of the different species. So we have ozone, we have carbon monoxide, NOx. All these are pollutants in the atmosphere that affect human health. And so this is one of the instruments that I use to monitor pollution in the atmosphere. Everything automated. You don't have to control it. So those are some of the instruments I use, especially for pollution measurement. Now, then I also do rocketry. I train students how to design, build, and launch rockets. In fact, this is one program I want to come and implement in Ghana, working with schools, especially high school students. I'm now drawing the program, and then it's about teaching our young ones how to design, build, and launch rocket, which will be a very good program or a very startup for our young ones that are interested in aerospace. Now, again, I also have research activities in Kenya. This is where I was launching a climate instrument with my partners at Machakos University in Kenya. And the VC at that time was launching the instrument. And so I work with my counterparts in Kenya, where we are looking at the impact of climate on human health, especially asthma cases. Then I also have activities in Nigeria where we use drone. In fact, in this one, we had our drone where we visited the biggest campsite in Africa is located in Nigeria, Lagos. That is where we were trying to measure pollution that comes from trash. And it was amazing if you look at the level of pollution from our various trashes. And so that is the need for us to do recycling, because the pollution coming from trash is unbelievable. And so we were able to use our drone to map all the pollution within that biggest dam site in Lagos. And so after getting the data, we compare and looked at how it affects human health, like asthma cases. So this was one of my PhD students looking at the correlation between the pollution and asthma cases in Nigeria. Now, back in South Africa, we also looked at climate effects on diseases like Rift Valley fever. So here we are looking at using satellite data to look at rainfall, vegetation, as well as land surface temperature, how they influence Rift Valley fever in South Africa. In fact, Rift Valley fever is a vector-borne disease like malaria. And so we try to correlate it with mosquito population and then correlate it with the outbreak of Rift Valley fever. So this was a project funded by NASA in South Africa that I was also involved in. And then back to Ghana, my activity in Ghana started with All Nations. So when I was at NASA, we invited, because we wanted to go and install one of NASA's instruments they used to validate satellites. So the NASA invited the All Nations president to come to NASA, come and sign the MOU. So this is the MOU being signed by All Nations president at NASA. And then our NASA engineer went to Ghana, Koforidua, to install the Aeronet, which is the instrument. And every summer, I go there to train students on how to use the data from the instrument. Then I'm sure some of you might have heard 2017 when Ghana launched its first satellite, and I was the lead scientist for that satellite, which was launched by All Nations. And so there was a huge publication on this in all international media. So this is
now Ghana has launched its first satellite into space. It was sent into orbit today from the International Space Center. Engineers from the All Nations University in Koforidua, who designed it, will receive the first signal from GhanaSat 1. The BBC's Thomas Nadi watched its launch with the development team.
The engineers who built the first Ghana satellite,
Let me just
Ghana
forward
Sat
it
1
so that
University in Sat 1,
don't...
is the culmination of a 2-year satellite accomplishment. Dr. Richard Damoah is the project coordinator.
The idea with this satellite is to use the onboard camera to monitor the coastal lines of the country, and also to show the up and coming generation that this is a capability that we are developing.
Now, Ghana.
So that was the Ghana's first satellite that we launched in 2017, which had a 3-year life span to monitor our environment, especially looking at how we'll be able to monitor this climate change, which is bringing a lot of rainfall and flooding, causing a whole lot of problems within our country. In addition, I also visit Ghana and once a while do some pollution measurement with my drone, and then also correlate it with asthma cases within the country. And so that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope I have inspired the young ones where I started from. I wasn't a very good student, but I challenged myself that no matter what current situation cannot weigh me down. I was focused and I was able to make it to where I am now. So thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a 95th anniversary celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You are. King was queen.